Welcome back to Michigan Muckraker. My name's Michelle. Today is Wednesday, September 6th already of 2023. And today I want to share with you some details about the 17 development goals that the United Nations is foisting on the whole world. I'm going to talk about Russia, Ukraine, and China and how they're all involved in pushing the Sustainable Development Goals. And I'm going to link in Grand Rapids just as an example, but I'm going to show you the ICLEI cities and how you can find your city or the nearest sustainable development goal aligned city in the state that you're in, or even in the country that you're in if you're in another country. So thank you very much for hanging out with me. If you are interested in the Fourth Industrial Revolution, the United Nations, and the Agenda 2030, the land grabs that are happening around the world, including Maui, for transportation and all these big plans for 2040 and 2050, America the Beautiful. If you're into any of that, please consider subscribing. Hang out with me. I talk about that all the time. Mondays and Tuesdays, I go live at 10 o'clock. And I appreciate you hanging out with me. And I hope that you learned something. That's the whole point of this. So I'm going to jump in and share with you first, real quick, something I forgot to mention yesterday. On the IDRA site for the People Against Economic Development of Michigan, you go to the Take Action Now page, and you come down here, and it's talking about the zoning issues that are now coming up thanks to Whitmer. And you come down here all the way at the bottom, and there are templates. And the top template, Keep Zoning Local, is the newest one. So if you need some assistance on who to contact and how exactly to say some things or give a general idea, then please consider coming to this website and looking into that. We need to tell our government we do not want them to bypass the townships to implement their Green New Deal and put wind turbines and solar panels in the rural backyards, taking our agriculture away. We don't want that. That's what they're trying to do. So now getting to the decade of action by the United Nations. Just going to put this up here to let you know exactly what's going on from 2020 to 2030 is all about taking action on the Sustainable Development Goals. And they do this through economic development corporations, logically, right? Because it's about development. So, and by the way, if for some reason this live stream cuts out, there is a storm happening. So if Consumers Energy, they do suck. So they might, my power might go out. Just an FYI, that might happen. All right, so the Decade of Action calls for accelerating sustainable solutions to all the world's biggest challenges, ranging from poverty and gender to climate change, inequality, and closing the finance gap. In September 2019, the UN Secretary General called on all sectors of society to mobilize for a decade of action on 3 levels. Global action to secure greater leadership, more resources, and smarter solutions for the Sustainable Development Goals. Local action, embedding the needed transitions in the policies, budgets, institutions, and regulatory frameworks of governments, cities, and local authorities. I can't make it more clear for you. This is how the United Nations is affecting what's going on in your township, in your county, in your state right now. The local action portion. They think global, they act local. I promise you, Green Charter Township, which has 3,000 people, it's small. They are pushing, whether they knew it or not, they are doing the bidding of the United Nations and implementing Sustainable Development Agenda 21. People action. This is the last thing that they're trying to push for this decade. People of action, including by youth. This is how they did. They did a decade of education from 2005 to 2014. So that's our youth right now. So now those youth are going to be the same ones implementing the action portion. Civil society, the media, the private sector, unions, academia, and other stakeholders to generate an unstoppable movement pushing for the required transformations. Again, there's a lot of assumptions here. What are these required transformations? Why? Who decides that? Did we vote for you? And what assumptions are being made at the very base level, right? So the bottom line is this is an anti-human agenda because these elitists have a base layer of ideology that's Malthusian, that thinks that the world is overpopulated and that human beings suck, essentially. I mean, that's a really crude way of saying it, not very intelligent, as you could say, but that's basically what it's all about. That they think they know that overpopulation is real and that resources are finite. That's another assumption. So there's two assumptions right there. That resources are finite. You have to assume that. Haven't seen it so far. And that overpopulation can happen, which again, prove it, you can't. The COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on all 17 Sustainable Development Goals has shown that what began as a health crisis has quickly become a human and socioeconomic crisis, by design. While the crisis is imperiling progress towards the SDGs, it also makes their achievement all the more urgent and necessary. Problem, reaction, solution, right? We have to do this. Look at all these issues. Climate change is causing all these fires. You have to. You need us. Don't you know you need us? It is essential that recent gains are protected as much as possible. A transformative recovery from COVID-19 should be pursued, one that addresses the crisis, reduces risk from future potential crises, and relaunched the implementation efforts to deliver the 2030 Agenda and Sustainable Development Goals during the Decade of Action. So they have a video. I'm not going to show you that video. Mobilize everyone everywhere. This is what the Decade of Action will do. We will work to create an unstoppable force linked to global goals. We will identify risks to ensure no one is left behind. No one. This requires each of us to take action individually and collectively, locally and globally. Demand urgency and ambition. We must be the generation to end extreme poverty, win the race against climate change, and conquer injustice and gender inequality. We will hold leaders to account and point to what is possible when action delivers results. Yeah, we will hold leaders to account. What leaders? The anti-establishment leaders? Sure, you might hold them to account, but certainly not your establishment leaders. None of them have been held to account yet, which I have a video to show you about Bill Gates, talking about globalist, elitist, self-anointed pricks that want to tell us what to do. He doesn't get to go anywhere anymore without being yelled at, or at least not in this one place. And I hope it is like that. I know it sounds terrible, but they do need to be held accountable. Bill Gates made billions of dollars off of the experiment, and he absolutely deserves to have people scream at him that he's a murderer. But anyway, I'll show you the video in just a little bit. We will shine a light on solutions that expand access and demonstrate the possibilities of ideas. We will drive sustainable innovation, financial investments, and technology while making space in our communities and cities for young people to lead. Yes, the young people will lead right to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals because they were educated to do so. So I'm going to go in this individual, Corey's Digs. I found this website this year. Please check it out. I will have it linked in the description. For diggers, that's for muckrakers, okay? You come here, there's resources galore on how you can find specific things that you're looking for. And the podcast is really good as well. So please check her out, her website out, her podcast out, because she has done a lot of the research that I have been doing into the United Nations. And so I'm going to showcase her article here and give you what's really going on with these Sustainable Development Goals. The United Nations set out with a goal in 2015 to transform our world and reimagine it the way they see fit. Again, who voted for these guys? Under the guise of sustainable development. All 193 member states joined in this mission against humanity. While the true instigators and creators of this one world government were orchestrating it all behind the scenes. This, of course, followed on the heels of their Agenda 2021 that kicked off back in 1992. It's not actually 2021. Agenda 21 is the agenda for the 21st century. So, anyway, 1992, but it's this skillfully planned takeover began long before then. Throughout the years, most people have been under the illusion that these so-called sustainable goals were for the betterment of mankind until now. Corey Lynn has investigated many of these agendas against mankind to expose their true nature and show the underbelly of what these agendas are truly about: human enslavement. All of these reports are linked below with corresponding sustainable goals so that everyone can understand exactly what we're up against, how to prepare, and how to fight back. Each in-depth report dives into timelines, operations, evidence, money trail, true agenda, and key players involved. She did the work that I have been doing, and she's not the only one. Tom DeWeese, he's been doing a lot of the same work. So there are people out there, and that's why it's research. I'm researching for something that's already been searched for, and then presenting it to you. So people are beginning to understand that these eugenicists, just like Bill Gates, he is a eugenicist, dating back over a century, are the billionaire puppet masters who have been coordinating this controlled demolition that is quickly unraveling before our eyes. Biden is the fall guy Biden. That's why it couldn't have been Bernie. It had to have been someone that was corrupt, and now he's senile, or at least he's acting senile. Good morning, by the way, Dragonfly, thank you. If you're still here, you popped in early. And Pilot, thank you for joining me. Two locals, and I couldn't be more appreciative of you hanging out. So hopefully I can show you something that you haven't seen before. But I know a lot of people that come here do their own muckraking, which is amazing. It can be seen in every industry, through every initiative, every policy change, every manufactured crisis, the takeover of governments, the thievery of taxpayer dollars, the printing of money, which devalues it, ongoing hoaxes and false flags, inventing new industries that cause harm rather than good, wind turbines and solar panels, anybody? And the complete control being ushered in to surveil human beings' every move. And Industry 4.0 is exactly that. It is the Internet of Things, big data, not just being collected, but being utilized. For what purposes? There is no denying it. The veil between reality and illusion has been lifted. They want mankind caged. And if people do not start recognizing that the power lies with the people, they will continue to call the masses under their spell into believing they have full authority over them. Most of what they do consists of illegal actions: money laundering, fraud, mind control, manipulation, monopolies, and a central control system. So everything she's saying, I've seen all of that throughout my research. On every company, foundation, investment firm, or government website, they state that their reasoning for carrying out specific agenda, initiative, or investment is to work towards these 17 sustainable goals. It is the PR spin rolled into every reason why it must be done, and it always is allegedly to save the people and save the planet. We have been lied to for decades. These global goals are said to be agreed upon by all the world leaders to build a greener, fairer, better world by 2030, and we will all have a role in achieving them. By role, they mean that people will be required to be obedient digital citizens with no personal rights or freedoms and will own nothing and be happy. And once again, if we were just adding electric cars to the gas-powered vehicles, I am for more options. That's not what's happening here. What's happening is they are set to replace our gas vehicles with these electric vehicles. Same thing with a high-speed rail. I am not for replacing cars, private transportation, private property, with public property, the high-speed rails. But if you want to add them, of course I'm for adding a high-speed rail. But the problem is that's not what's going on. They want to get rid of our private cars. So that's why I don't like the high-speed rail system. A perfect example is their push for everyone in the world to have access to a bank account under the guise of equality. And they're pushing this hard in South Africa. Under the guise of equality, and be able to provide direct assistance to those in poverty. Yet, if you review all of their plans around the financial industry and digital IDs, it becomes quite clear that this is for the purpose of creating a universal basic income that is monitored and spending is controlled based on a social score derived from one's obedience level. I know I should have a tinfoil hat on right now, but this is all what they say. And that's why the term conspiracy theory is a CIA, a PSYOP, a psychological operation. It just means you think critically. You're reading what they're putting out because they're saying all this. And if you connect the dots and follow what actions they do as well, then you can see that this is the totalitarian tiptoe, as David Icke would say, towards a new world order and surveillance state, police state. Yes, so, yep. Hey, family, it's me, Dragonfly. I'm on a road trip in the Upper Peninsula. Thank you very much for joining in while you're driving. Have fun up in the UP. It's beautiful up there. I hope it's not storming where you are at, and I hope there's no bugs. I don't know what time of year the bugs up there in the UP are bad, but I know they do get quite nasty. And Queen's Gambit, I agree. I looked it up on the government website. Yeah, I mean, you can go directly to the government website. It's all there. Now, they're not going to say it this way. This individual is going to break it down in a different type of way, which is why I wanted to share it with you. So the first goal that the United Nations has is no poverty. Together, we can feed the hungry, wipe out disease, and give everyone in the world a chance to prosper and live a productive and rich life. Sounds amazing. What's happening? We've heard the song and dance for decades, while the U.S. has stolen trillions in taxpayer dollars to allegedly help other countries with no success because they are slush funds. Currently, we are all experiencing intentional food shortages. This was written in 2022 when we were seeing some food shortages, and we will see them again, much worse. That was unfortunately just a trial run. Things are going to get crazy during the election year. Currently, we are all experiencing intentional food shortages, manufacturing supply chain disruptions, inflation, massive business closures, and towns shuttered from forced lockdowns. The rollout of a guaranteed basic income pilot program in over 57 cities, giving out up to $1,000 a month for people to spend however they wish so it can be tracked, with a goal to create a federal policy of universal income for all. Again, there's a bunch of test runs going on, and different places have different tests that they are conducting, right? Australia was extremely tyrannical during the COVID lockdowns, even had concentration camps where individuals were put into. It's just crazy. That was one experiment to see how far they can go in a Western country. Then you have the UK, which has the ULEZ, the ultra low emissions zone, that has cameras around the entire zone. And if you leave and come back too many times, you get a fine, which is a tax of $10 right now. But again, who cares about that? If you're rich, it's only if you're poor that $10 really makes a difference. And they can change it whenever they want. And they can change the rules whenever they want. The whole point is it's a surveillance, 15-minute surveillance zone. And that's being tested in London. So here we had different tests. Italy had tests, Canada, everybody was being tested, and they will try to do it or again. Okay, they're going to try to do it again. So we'll see how that goes. Zero hunger. That's number 2. Second goal. Sounds like a great goal. End hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. What's happening? Controlled starvation. Babies can't get formula, which that was here in Fremont, was one of the places that was closed down. The baby formula factory. Controlled starvation. Babies can't get formula. Farmers blocked from fertilizer and water. Lab-grown synthetic meat. Gene-edited produce. Buying up and drying up farmland. Bill Gates' Agra actually increased hunger by 31% in Africa. Bill Gates has been doing evil all around the world. He deserves what's going on with him when he goes places. Good health and well-being. Ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. Over the past 15 years, the number of childhood deaths has been cut in half. What's really happening? Over 75% of our food is GMO. Major heart disease, strokes, diabetes, and obesity are off the charts. FDA blocks therapeutics proven to work, removing medical license of doctors who dare to treat people, forcing children to wear bacteria-filled masks for hours a day, elderly murdered in nursing homes, mandated experimental gene therapy causing hundreds of thousands of people to die globally, including babies. And I talked today with Janine over on Rumble, Turn the Page with Janine, and she brought up a story over in Thailand. There was a baby, 6 months old, that got some form of the vaccine. There's so many out now. And their eyes turned from brown to blue. But it wasn't like a natural blue. It's very weird blue. And so it was in the Gateway Pundit, I think, is where she found the story, which of course it's a right-leaning site. Just be aware of that. But you are a thinking human being and you can discern truth when you look at it, I'm sure. Give yourself more information, always, not less. Good information can come from anywhere, is what I'm trying to say, even a right-wing or a left-wing site. What's happening? Mass scale brainwashing through social emotional learning, critical race theory, sexualization of children, gender confusion, puberty blockers, mandated masks in schools, universities demanding students get experimental gene therapy, total lack of academic education, and barbaric student loans. But yes, they do want lifelong obedience training in place. So this is ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all, right? They want to brainwash. That's what the quality education is. Let's see. It's pouring. Yeah, it just stopped pouring here. Hopefully we don't get any more. At least not any more thunder and lightning. More rain's always good. And yes, Pilot, same thing. So I guess it's across the whole of Michigan. Storms, storms, storms. But rain is good for the garden, even though it's at the end of the day, or at the end of the season. Gender equality. Achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. Political, economic, and social equality for women will benefit all the world's citizens. What's happening? Girls have been conditioned to lose all sense of self-identity and gender, leaving them totally confused. While being trained to be independent from their parents, women were conditioned to leave their children and work outside the home to break apart the family unit. All while manipulation tactics were injected to demoralize men at the same time. It's not about equality, it's about controlling a population by dividing them. Yes, exactly. You make the women become more masculine, so they do not take care of the children and teach the children, so that the state has more power there. And like she said, you demasculate the men because evil does not want to face strong men. They would lose way easier than if they have to fight masculine women or weak men. So this is the push there, and it's sad that this is all going on. Birth control has some to do with some of it, so it's a technology. And clean water and sanitation. Of course, I want everybody to have clean water and sanitation, but there's another thing going on right now, and it is about water and water rights, which I do need to do a deep dive into for myself so I could talk more about it. But water, they're coming after it. I mean, Michigan here, the industries are coming after it for their semiconductor plants and their EV batteries. But let's see what they want. Ensure availability and sustainable management. Haha. Who is to define what sustainable is and who is to manage it? Are we going to vote for these people? Ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. 1 in 3 people live with sanitation. This is causing unnecessary death and disease. She must not have quoted that quite right. What's happening? Farmers are blocked from access to water as their fields go dry. Streets are rife with homelessness, crack pipes, needles, and feces. Immigrants are welcomed by the bus and plane loads while foregoing tests, given aid, and stand on street corners begging for money as they allegedly live without water or sanitation. Right. This is just so they can, again, control the water. It also goes back to dams. dams are unsustainable. That's why we're paying for them to be removed. Oh, Nevada says, wow, thank you for joining me. Wow, what? And Queen's Gambit, my daughter has had 3 miscarriages, and she got Gardasil Vax when she was 17. Ugh, I'm sorry. Is that the one that's HPV? I probably got that vaccine, unfortunately, because when I was in the military, I got them all of them. I have 4 pages front and back of all of the vaccines I got, but that's a regret that I'll have to contemplate another day. Affordable and clean energy. Ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. Implementing these new energy solutions as fast as possible is essential to counter climate change. Again, there's another assumption that these elitist pricks have, that we contribute the majority to climate change when climate just changes. One of the biggest threats to our own survival, to counter climate change, the biggest threat. No, the biggest threat are people that think they know everything. That's the biggest threat, and want to tell us how to live because of it. Good morning, Blue. Thank you. Oh, Nevada, thank you for all this info. I'm so sick of these evil people. Thank you for being here and being aware, and I am too. Shed light on the darkness. That's one of the theories I have. I don't know how to stop these people. I don't want bloodshed, but I also want to stop them. And so I am conflicted in exactly how to go forward. But I figure maybe smarter people than me can come up with a plan if I can just get people aware of this big picture macro look. I'm into macroeconomics, and I'm into the macro master plan. And so that's what I dig into usually. But again, thank you guys for hanging out with me. Blue, I will stand on the front line. And Pilot, I got your 6. Thank you, yes. And I'll be right there with you, front line, baby. Let's do this. We're not going to go down quietly. Ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy. Okay, what's happening? The billionaires are making bank on this manufactured industry while bringing in all electric era of vehicles that can be shut off remotely with a kill switch. Gas prices have reached an all-time high, and the Biden regime has brought our strategic petroleum reserve to the lowest since it's been since 1987. This was a year ago. It's really crazy. Is this Labor Day, there was on Friday, no diesel at the local gas station. I don't know what that's all about. What's happening? The billionaires, oh yes, okay. California can't even keep the lights on, but are happy to push their power grid to the brink with the all-electric scheme. There is nothing affordable about it. Meanwhile, Bill Gates and friends at Harvard want to block out the sun. If you haven't looked into that, that is not a conspiracy theory. It's a fact. He has spent billions, I think, on geoengineering, solar geoengineering, which is trying to block out the sun, and allegedly to help us so that we don't burn up. But we need the sun of God, okay? He brings us warmth. Decent work and economic growth. Promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full of productive employment and decent work for all. If we promote job creation with expanded access to banking and financial services, we can make sure that everybody gets the benefits of entrepreneurship and innovation. What's happening? This is one of the most outlandish ones of them all. They are doing everything in their power to crash economies across the globe so they can rule over everyone, have managed to get away with the biggest transfer of wealth in history, still going on, mind you. What do you think Ukraine is? That war over there is just sucking all of the rest of the money out of America with a big old straw. We have no accountability on what's going on with that money, and Maui residents get $700 apiece. If all of this doesn't tell you that it's corrupt, and it's not just about Democrats, okay? This is bigger than Democrats versus Republicans. We need to get over that. Both sides have their globalists. That's really establishment that want to push this versus anti-establishment that just want to be left alone and live and have private property and try to, the American dream, try to work hard and buy a house and have a family. But they're making it impossible. Yes, okay. Biggest wealth transfer in history? While they stomp on entrepreneurs. The only reason they want everyone to have access to a bank is so they can be surveilled and spending controlled, which builds an obedient digital citizen. And again, just like EVs, they are giving the carrot. They're bribing people to jump on to the digital currency. They're bribing people to get an electric vehicle. Eventually it will be, it's also, regulations are also coming along with that. You just don't hear about that as often. Industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. We need to promote innovative, sustainable technologies and ensure equal and universal access to information and financial markets. What's happening in the United States? They passed a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill to build the smart grid control system. This is happening in countless countries all over the world, packaged as convenience, safety, and sustainable. The only thing equal is the billionaire globalists behind these schemes, each taking their cut. Now, even then, the evil always fights with each other as well, but they try to remember who they fight for, number one. There is a top dog, but they're all trying to do his bidding in their own way. Reduce inequality within and among countries. Too much of the world's wealth is held by a very small group of people. In order for nations to flourish, equality and prosperity must be available to everyone, regardless of gender, race, religious beliefs, or economic status. Again, it sounds good in theory. It's just how they want to implement it. You ain't gonna like it if you're for freedom. If you don't want to make any choices for yourself, then you might like this new system they're putting in place. Reduce inequality within and among countries. Too much of the world's wealth? Okay, sorry. What's happening? BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street own nearly every industry and company, with the same corrupt billionaires operating as stakeholders within these three industries. So yes, the world's wealth is most certainly held by a very small group of people. If allowing these monopolies to happen represents equality and prosperity available to everyone, that should be everyone's first clue that the world is being conned. Yes, sustainable cities and communities. This is where we get into ICLEI and Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Lansing, Holland, Battle Creek. I think they all made promises, which I am going to show you Grand Rapids promises, but we're going to get done with these 17. Make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. What's happening? How safe have cities felt over the past few years? Even Grand Rapids, man, it used to be so safe and beautiful. Like, they had a really nice microbrewery scene. Everything was cool. And then 2020 hit, and now it's dangerous even in Grand Rapids. My friend saw a stabbing at 11 o'clock in the morning right outside of a bus stop. It's like, you never would have heard of that, because Grand Rapids is not that big, but it's not safe any longer. How safe have cities felt over the past few years? With the pre-planned social disruption experiments to form and roll out groups such as Antifa and BLM to cause riots, destroy cities, and commit violence. While intentionally shuttering small businesses and small towns on the outskirts, they are culling the masses into the cities, where they have been building their smart grid control systems, and investors have been buying up homes to convert to rentals, which is why they want everyone on a digital ID and want all people, products, resources, and food items tracked and traced via the blockchain. This gives them the ability to control access, spending, travel, thermostats, energy use, food, healthcare, you name it. They will have control over it if you and I are corralled into this smart city. Responsible consumption and production. Ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. Our planet has provided us with an abundance of natural resources, but we have not utilized them responsibly and currently consume far beyond what our planet can provide. How do you know that? And I'm not saying that we should not innovate, but I actually have a book coming. So, real quick side tangent. I have 2 books that I've purchased. One is not here yet. This one is The Limits to Growth. This is the Club of Rome, which precedes the United Nations, or around the same time. Another globalist, like a Bilderberg group, right? A bunch of elitist pricks that think they know, and they believe that overpopulation is real, and so they are the intelligent ones that need to curb our consumption. Now, the other book I have coming is called The Ultimate Resource, which is the antithesis of this idea, which is there is no overpopulation. The more people means the more intelligence, which means more innovation. It's a very pro-human message, whereas this is a very anti-human message. And so I want to read both books and try to present to you guys the juxtaposition between the two ideas. But when the ultimate resource comes in, I will get started on my research there. But I'm for the ultimate resource idea. More people means more intelligence, means more innovation, means we can use less resources to do more. But that's not happening because we don't have free markets. So that book calls for free markets and for free societies, for sovereign citizens around the world. Nevada. I read ICLEI websites back in 2020 regarding the new cities. Jaw-dropping. It is. And again, it's all out in the open. All you have to do is know where to look and be willing to look. A lot of people, even if you show them, hey, you can look at it right here, they're saying everything that I'm saying. There's some people that just, they won't look. It's sad. Sorry, my nose keeps itching. Responsible consumption and production. Ensure consumption and production patterns are planned. Okay, yes. What's happening? Over 640 million acres, or 28% of all U.S. land, is owned by the federal government. They want 30%. America the Beautiful Challenge is 30% by 2030, and I've heard conflicting 50 to 70% by 2050. The billionaires, or 1%, have utilized the resources that aren't controlled by the federal government so as to capitalize on it and maintain their power to manufacture newly needed industries while blaming citizens for consuming too much. They are moving to synthetic meat and gene-edited produce, all of which they are investors in or owners of because citizens are consuming too much. Now, is it because they don't know how to farm? You know, why don't you just be a farmer and produce and make money that way? But instead, there is a war on meat. There's a war on life. Let's just be real. It's a war on life. Climate action. Take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. Climate change is a real and undeniable threat to our entire civilization. Do you like how they said that? Climate change is real, okay? They told you it's real. It's undeniable. It's undeniably a threat to our entire civilization. It's a lot of assumption there, man. The effects are visible and will be catastrophic. Based on what? The models? That garbage in, garbage out. You put the freaking information in the models and it comes out, oh my God, the world's going to end. Well, yeah, because you put the information in there to bring out the results that the world's going to end. Through education, brainwashing, innovation, and adherence to our climate commitments, we can make necessary changes to protect the planet. These changes will provide huge opportunities to modernize our infrastructure. Right, smart grid it up. What's happening? One of the greatest fear-based hoaxes of all time. To manufacture an industry that not only makes the corrupt billionaires wealthier, it is being used to control access to power and energy supply, incorporated into surveillance vehicles, electric vehicles, all hooked into the smart grid to remove traditional farming and bring it indoors for gene-edited food. Yes, stacked on stacked on stacked like China, too. They're doing the same thing as China. To change policies at the federal level, big investment firms requiring companies to obey and modify their facilities so they can be worthy of investment, and a climate score will roll into everyone's social score to determine their access and spending in the world. For decades, their climate change predictions of doom and gloom have been wrong, and yet with each decade that passes, they continue to push the same narrative despite the fact that the world didn't go up in flames, right? And yet there's still people, and again, it's mostly children that they have gotten to. They've gotten to our children through the education system. Life below water. Conserve and sustainability, or conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. Oceans and seas cover 70% of our planet, and we rely on them for food, energy, and water. We must protect them and immediately start to responsibly manage and protect all marine life around the world. What's happening? The FDA approved of genetically modified salmon, fish farms, and aquaponics is another industry evolving for additional control over the food. Yes, there are fake fish already in the fish markets. Fake fish. It's the one thing that's gotten through FDA. Life on land. That's why I won't eat anything, no salmon or anything, unless my family catches me salmon. And I know it sounds maybe a little paranoid, but I don't want to eat the fake fish, okay? Life on land. Protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, and halt and reverse land degradation, halt biodiversity loss. It is the key to our survival. You know, at the same time they're touting this, there are people right now that are figuring out how to mine the ocean floor, which will destroy biodiversity, for lithium-ion batteries. So to protect the biodiversity, we're going to destroy the biodiversity. What's happening? They've used forests and lands to roll out surveillance programs that span the entire United States. They've exposed our land and people to poisonous chemicals for decades, with Monsanto being one of the biggest players, and they are buying up land for themselves right now as we speak. Let's see, Blue, got a few. I've been thinking about the whole Trump thing. I don't like him or any of the other government cronies, but Trump really did throw a rock into the gears of the evil ones. Think about how if Hillary got in, she would have locked us down for years waiting for the vaccine for safety purposes. That's why Trump came out with the warp speed, so they couldn't use, we have to wait for a vaccine. The typical studies take 7 to 15 years for a safe and effective vaccine to be given to the public. That's exactly why one of many reasons why I don't like Trump. And I'm not talking about Trump the person. I don't know Trump the person, so I'm not going to bash him. But I'm saying that, to me, he is a puppet in this WWE match, just the same as Biden, but he has a anti-establishment role, and he did help Big Pharma out immensely with getting rid of all those regulations. So, yeah. Again, though, that's not to say that I think Trump needs to be thrown in jail, like these indictments and stuff. I'm not going to get into all that, but our government is definitely being weaponized, and it's right now it's being shown to be weaponized against Trump. But I don't think that anything is going to happen to him. He's going to be president by selection. But anyway, getting back to this, thank you for the comment, Blue. But yeah, I don't trust any of them. That's just the way I am. I don't trust them at all. Trump, Biden, Vivek Ramaswamy, I don't trust them. Promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. Compassion and a strong moral compass is essential to every democratic society. They want that compassion because they have manipulated it. They know how to manipulate it. A strong moral compass. Well, the moral compass that they want is easily manipulated. The only moral compass that we can have that isn't, it has to have something outside of man. And that's why I came to God through logic, and like, for me, I didn't go to church or anything else. Like, to me, there has to be a higher moral arbiter of morality, I guess, so that way we have something outside of man that is not, you're not able to manipulate for your own purposes, because we are flawed and there are people that choose evil. So God is necessary for morals, for an actual literal moral compass from where I sit. But going back to this, they want compassion and a strong moral compass, so that way you can force your neighbor to get a vaccine for your own benefit. that kind of moral compass. We must ensure that we have strong institutions, global standards of justice, and a commitment to peace everywhere. What's happening? They lost me at moral compass. There are two justice systems in the United States. One is for the corrupt globalists, covered in all the reports below, and the other is for citizens. That is evident in how much money laundering and crimes against humanity have taken place while no justice is served. They've worked very hard at dividing people into many groups as possible, which is the opposite of inclusive. Divide and conquer is their goal. Just look at how well they have achieved this and how many people have fallen for it, which is exactly why I try not to do the left versus right, Republican versus Democrat. You know, I want us all to respect each other, but understand there is an objective truth. And I don't want to persist the divide and conquer narrative, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't want to do that. I hope that we can figure out that really everybody wants the same stuff, the same things. You know, we want to live and have opportunities. And a part of that is private property. And so that's why I do a lot of this. This whole Agenda 21 is about private property. And that affects all of us, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent, green, libertarian, doesn't matter. It affects us all. You know, America, it has some beautiful things about it. We made mistakes, but the beautiful thing is we've corrected those mistakes. And that is what humans should do as well. Partnerships for the goals. Janine, like, share, subscribe. Thank you. Yes, please do smash that like button if you haven't already. I appreciate you hanging out. So what's happening? By cooperative, they mean obedient. Let me read the partnerships for the goals. Strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. Global partnership. International investments and support is needed to ensure innovative technological development, fair trade, and market access. To build a better world, we need to be supportive, empathetic, inventive, passionate, and above all, cooperative. Be cooperative. What's happening? By cooperative, they mean obedient. Yeah, exactly. By partnerships, they mean the corrupt globalist billionaires that answer to their puppet masters, and governments who turn over taxpayer dollars to build the enslavement system. Right. We're paying for our own enslavement. That's what really irritates me. By empathetic, they mean toward themselves and one another. By passionate and inventive, they mean the thrill of power they hold and the inventions they will continue to make to enslave humanity. They manufacture a crisis, then prepare to come to the rescue with solutions that will create all new industries to save the day. They own those industries, make billions on those industries, and with each new creation, they try to own the people. Couldn't say it better myself. Come down here, she's got this book. If you want to check it out, then I recommend. Again, she's done a lot of really good work. I am going to go to the next one really quick. This is Tom DeWeese. Actually, real quick, before I jump into this article, I'm going to go over here and we're going to see equitable. This is Grand Rapids. This is ICLEI City. Okay, come here. Oh, control and scroll. Here we go. Come out here. These are all of the cities that have made promises to the United Nations, basically, to push the Sustainable Development Goals. And so it's obviously all over, depending on where you're at in the United States. But we're going to zoom in because these are the closest to a majority of you guys. And we have Grand Rapids. So Doug Matthews is the assistant city manager. He made a promise in 2022. And the Sustainable Development Goals are 11, 13, and 7 that they have promised to focus on. So 11, 13, and 7. 11 is, 13, climate action. Take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts through education, innovation, and adherence to our climate commitments. Okay? Then 11, sustainable cities and communities. Make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. 15-minute city. That's what that means. And then the last one, 7. 7 is decent work and economic growth. Promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full of productive employment and decent work for all. So those are the goals. Check out the city near you. I'm sure that you'll find one closer than you'd like to think. And just notice there's none up here, because this is all going to be part of the America the Beautiful. The high-speed rail does go to Traverse City and Petoskey as of right now, but that's it. And this is going to be sparse. A lot of wildlife, wildlands. All right, going back to this. Nope, this one. An agenda for world domination, or am I just a nut? This is Tom DeWeese, which Newaygo County Grassroots introduced me to this individual, and he's been working for 30 years to try to sound the alarm on Agenda 21. For my efforts, I have been labeled a conspiracy theorist, spreading fear and hate against a reasonable and sound desire to simply protect the environment for future generations. The Southern Poverty Law Center has issued 4 separate reports on me. I've been attacked on the front page of the Sunday New York Times. Newsweek called my American Policy Center extremists who are spreading untruths about Agenda 21 to discredit the United Nations. And yeah, a lot of publications, when they talk about the conspiracy theories around Agenda 21, it's all right-wing. This is all just right-wing. I didn't think it was a right-wing concern, private property. I thought it was an American concern. But MediaBioFactChecks.com says I publish unverifiable information and labels APC's conspiracy level all the way to tinfoil hat. And on the charges have gone by Mother Jones Magazine, Esquire, Washington Post, and more. Funny thing about these charges is that all I've really done is quote the proponents of Agenda 21. Exactly. And its policy of sustainable development. It started with Agenda 21. Then we got a remake called Agenda 2030, followed by the Green New Deal, and most recently, the Great Reset, all connected. In every case, proponents assure us it's all just a progressive and voluntary drive toward a better life for everyone. Well, is it? I have an idea. Why don't I let them tell us in their own words? And you know the ones I've been quoting. So here we go. This is from them. Club of Rome, the book that I just held up, and I hate giving money to them, but it's really, the information is important to try to get people to understand where these false assumptions from these elitists come from, and why they think the way they think. The common enemy of humanity is man. In searching for a new enemy to unite us, we came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, water shortages, famine, and the like would fit the bill. All of these dangers are caused by human intervention, and it is only through changed attitudes and behavior that they can be overcome. The real enemy then is humanity itself. Club of Rome. 5G towers. Yes, I don't talk much about 5G towers. I've looked into them though. It's a part of the 4th Industrial Revolution, and again, look into millimeter waves. They affect humans. We are frequency, so frequency would affect us. In what ways? Could it make me lose smell and taste for 3 weeks? Effective execution of Agenda 21 will require a profound reorientation of all human society, unlike anything the world has ever experienced. A major shift of priorities of both governments and individuals, and an unprecedented redeployment of human and financial resources. This shift will demand that a concern for the environmental consequences of every human action be integrated into individual and collective decision-making at every level. UN Agenda 21. Current lifestyles and consumption patterns of the affluent middle class, involving high meat intake, use of fossil fuels, appliances, air conditioning, and suburban housing, are not sustainable. Maurice Strong, chairman of the UN Earth Summit in 1992. What are we seeing right now? Doesn't Biden have an air conditioning bill coming out? Are they not talking about gas stoves, fossil fuels, meat? And this was all the way back in 1992. Every freaking government tyrannical decision being made is based on UN Agenda 21, the plan. This huge book tells all the information about what they plan. This, again, in the 90s. And I'm not saying I read that whole book, but I should. I mean, honestly, I should know exactly what they're talking about, and so I can reference it for you guys. We must go through a wrenching transformation to rid us all of the horrors of the 20th century, the 20th century's Industrial Revolution. Al Gore, who is the first climate billionaire, I believe. So he has a vested interest in this climate shit, doesn't he? Blue says that's why they came out first with the real ID. You're saying the IDs they gave out weren't real. Please clarify that question, and I will answer. Sorry, I'm not getting it. The real ID. Climate change, truth or fiction, it doesn't matter. We've got to ride this global warming issue. Even if the theory of global warming is wrong, we will be doing the right thing in terms of economic and environmental policy. Timothy Worth, president of the United Nations Foundation. No matter if the science of global warming is all phony, climate change provides the greatest opportunity to bring about justice and equality in the world. Again, we need to figure out what they mean by justice and equality, because what we think it is and what they think it is, two different things. I can guarantee you that. Just like transparency. It's not them being more transparent, it's us, the people. Christine Stewart said that. Okay, it doesn't matter what is true, it only matters what people believe is true. Paul Watson, co-founder of Greenpeace. This is the first time in the history of mankind that we are setting ourselves the task of intentionally, within a defined period of time, to change the economic development model that has been reigned for at least 150 years since the Industrial Revolution. Christina Figueres, Executive Secretary, UN Framework Convention of Climate Change. My three main goals would be to reduce human population to about 100 million worldwide, destroy the industrial infrastructure, and see wilderness with its full complement of species returning throughout the world. And there's your America the Beautiful challenge. Your Wildlands Project is what it was called, and now it's America the Beautiful. Population control, get rid of the worthless humans. Dave Foreman, co-founder of Earth First, says the native ecosystems and the collective needs of non-human species must take precedence over the needs and desires of humans. And again, this creator of the Wildlands Project, Reed Noss, there you go. Human beings as a species have no more value than slugs. John Davis, that was the creator of the Wildlands Project. Human beings as a species have no more value than slugs. I mean, it really comes down to if you are anti-human or pro-human. Are you dark side or light side? I mean, it seems crazy, but if you think that humans are evil, it's probably a reflection of yourself. John Davis says, among environmentalists sharing 2 or 3 beers, the notion is quite common that, if only some calamity could wipe out the human race, and other species might once again have a chance. Other species. Childbearing should be punishable crime against society unless the parents hold a government license. All potential parents should be required to use contraceptive chemicals, the government issuing antidotes to citizens chosen for childbearing, from the Sierra Club. I mean, again, these are direct quotes, so there's nothing that can be taken out of context there. What do you say to that? Like, how do you trust people that think in such a way to implement policies? They have to be anti-human policies, don't you think? This website is called AmericanPolicy.org. I will have it linked in the description. Please check it out. Tom DeWeese, Deweese. He's been doing this work for a long time, and he's got tons of different articles that I'd love to get into on this channel, because he's done the work. Again, I'm just finding these people that have done a lot of the work, and I'm trying to kind of synthesize for y'all what I find, because it's all out there. I don't just make this shit up, and neither do these people. Obviously, that's what Tom Deweese's whole point with this article is. Let me see if I can actually. Did that post for you guys? Can you click it? I'm doing it through StreamYard, so I'm not sure. But all countries and all stakeholders acting in collaborative partnership will implement this plan. We are determined to take the bold and transformative steps which are urgently needed to shift the world onto a sustainable and resilient path. As we embark on this collective journey, we pledge that no one will be left behind. Preamble to Agenda 2030. It's funny because yesterday's video I talked a lot about China, and I was hoping to get to it today. Doesn't look like it's going to happen at this rate. But China is all about economic development. That's how they wage war. That's how they infiltrate other countries. That's how they've infiltrated Africa. And I go into that in depth in my video yesterday. But they reiterated that point. No one will be left behind. They being Xi Jingping, the CCP. No one will be left behind from their new world order. The emerging environmentalization of our civilization and the need for vigorous action in the interest of an entire global community will inevitably have multiple political consequences. Perhaps the most important of them will be a gradual change in the status of the United Nations. Inevitably, it must assume some aspects of world government. Mikhail Gorbachev address to the State of the World Forum. Yes, that is why United Nations, man, I can't stop looking at them in the World Economic Forum, because together they are using economic development to change the world. A massive campaign must be launched to de-develop the United States. De-development means bringing our economic system into line with the realities of ecology and the world resource situation. This is Paul Eckridge, professor of population studies. Again, he has a false belief that Malthusian ideas are correct and that overpopulation is a reality that we need to try to mitigate. And again, that's an assumption that we need to question the foundational ideology of these people. Enforcing the global agenda locally, regionalism must precede globalism. We foresee a seamless system of governance from local communities, individual states, regional unions, and up through the United Nations itself, UN Commission on Global Governance. No one fully understands how or even if sustainable development can be achieved. However, there is growing consensus that it must be accomplished at the local level if it is to be achieved on a global basis. And the local Agenda 21 Planning Guide published by ICLEI in 1996, we believe planning should be a tool for allocating resources and eliminating the great inequalities of wealth and power in our society, because the free market has been proven incapable of doing this. The free market has been proven to be incapable. No, what the free market showed is that some people want more than others, and they'll be willing to work for it. Some people are content with less, and they should be able to work less to have less. And if they're okay with that, you should have that. That's the free market. Resetting the entire economic system. Hey, Connie, thank you. Checking in from Grand Rapids. I did just talk about Grand Rapids being an ICLEI city, and I have a Grand Rapids video part 2 of it being an ICLEI city coming out hopefully soon. Maui came up, and Maui 2040 was a new rabbit hole I found, and I think it's really important that we don't stop looking at what's going on in Maui, because it is the catalyst. It is what's going to happen. I mean, East Palestine is a very similar situation, but this is 2,000 children, according to the Department of Education there. 2,000 children are missing, and the mainstream media isn't talking about that. So I really want to get a video out on that, so I'm pushing back the Grand Rapids, but it's coming, because there's so much going on in Grand Rapids, and it's the city that, if I'm going to be in a city, that's the one that I go to. So, it sucks that it's a 15-minute city coming. What then is the most effective transition strategy? The essential aim is not to fight against consumer capitalist society, but to build the alternative to it. Author Ted Trainer, Transition to a Sustainable and Just World. And this is what we have to do. I think that's the magic, right? I think we have to do the same thing. We have to build an alternative to their world. And I've heard a couple of them. The Good Reset and The Great Resist are two narratives that are coming out to try to combat the Great Reset. Jordan Peterson has something called ARC. I don't know if that's still going on, but he was talking about trying to come up with a vision of the world to counter this vision. And I think that's kind of the right steps that we need to go in, because you can't just tear down. Like, I'm showing you what they're trying to do, and I want to stop that, but we can't just stop it. We need to have something to put in its place. So again, greater minds than mine, once they're aware of the problem, can come together and we can find a solution and create a different narrative, an alternative to this evil shit that they're trying to implement. Simply shutting down the economy is not going to get us to our goal. So just like we need innovation for COVID-19, we also need to get rid of emissions from all the different sectors and bring down climate change. This crosses many areas. Transportation, industry, electricity, and all those things, and agriculture contribute to emissions. Bill Gates. Individual rights will have to take a back seat to the collective. You know what, real quick? I'm going to show this to you. Hopefully this works. Boop. Turn that up. Hopefully you guys can hear this and it's not too loud. Actually, make it like this, because nope, I can't hear it. Nope. There we go.
You murdering Bill Gates! You son of a bitch! You have blood on your hands! You have
Hopefully you guys can hear that. Yeah, Bill Gates is in this car.
We know who you are, you son of a bitch! Murder! Arrest Bill Gates! 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 Arrest Bill Gates!
Now, if you look at a lot of the comments in this, and this is best conspiracy memes over on Reddit, you know, you can find information anywhere, and this is where I found this video. So, I personally, you know, I'm for peace, but there comes a point, like, this guy is a murderer. Like, we have to do something, and I don't think that those people protecting him should be. I think that they should be working for us. They're paid by us. They should move out of the way, but I don't know. Let me know what you think. Do you think, how do we deal with these guys, man? I'm so conflicted. Individual rights need to take a back seat to the collective. I mean, the greater good, it always leads to atrocities. That's ICLEI, Harvey Rubin. And yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that the people are at the bottom, right? Yeah. Okay. The right to full employment and ending unemployment by guaranteeing a job at a living wage in a safe workplace, empowered by labor unions, single-payer Medicare for all, tuition-free education from preschool to college, and the right to affordable housing. The Economic Bill of Rights, the Green New Deal. The right to full employment and ending unemployment by guaranteeing a job at a living wage. How can you do that? I mean, that's a lot of big government, right? The government forcing certain things on someone who opens up a private business. Within a year, 77% of institutional investors intend to stop buying into companies that aren't in some way sustainable. If it's not done by following sustainable rules, it will not be financed. Klaus Schwab, COVID-19, the Great Reset. And that's how they're doing it, right? Money. They have a plan. They have money. Yes, these cops are just doing their job. Exactly. That is something we do not need. And that is no excuse when you go to meet your maker. It's no excuse if you actually have a just system. If you look at the Nuremberg trials, that is what they concluded. Those individuals, you can't just claim you're just following orders. You're responsible for your actions, as you should be. The chaotic growth of cities will be replaced by a dynamic system of urban settlement. The region is formed by economic interdependence of its development. The region has a single system of transportation, a centralized administration, and a united system of education and research. Soviet Russian architect Alexei Gotnov, The Ideal Communist City, 1968. And that is what the 15-minute city is. It's the ideal communist city. Well, there you have it. Now, what do you think they really want? Am I just a nut for simply telling on them? There are tons of more quotes I could use, but it would just be overkill. Our nation is in chaos. With our economy locked down, the ability to control our own property is disappearing. Public schools are becoming factories, turning out compliant global village idiots. The national debt soaring, gas prices are skyrocketing, the nation's healthcare system is being destroyed. It is destroyed. The nurses that are left are overworked. Over half of them here in Michigan want to quit. It's over for that, but they're not. Yeah, the growing threat of a total surveillance society is watching our every move. So, thank you, Tom DeWeese, for all you've done. Another one coming out of there. This whole article is good, but it's science, agriculture, city planning, global control. But I'm just going to go down to the city planning for the 15-minute city portion to get what he has to say. 15-minute city, in some places 20-minute city. Ann Arbor is a 20-minute neighborhood, not a 15-minute city. So it's both. Is a hot new issue to attack climate change. It is neither hot nor new. Well, maybe hot from the heat gathered in the city heat sink, but certainly not a place that any global elite will live in. And it is not new. It comes straight out of The Ideal Communist City by Alexei Gotnov, written for East Germany after the USSR took over. The chaotic growth of cities will be replaced by a dynamic system of urban settlement. This system will evolve out of an integrated and self-sufficient nucleus. The NUC, now the 15-minute city, the goal is to transform the whole planet into a unified sociological environment. The region is formed by the economic interdependence of its development. The region has a single system of transportation, a centralized administration, and a united system of education and research. This is why they don't want you to have private cars and the high-speed rail. The high-speed rail will replace the private car because you can only have one single system of transportation and it's owned by the people. No, it's owned by the government, who we can see does not work or give a shit about what we the people want. Here in Michigan, I talked about it a lot yesterday, but they're trying to stop townships from having any say if we have solar panels in our backyard or wind turbines. So they definitely want to control it all, and they don't want you to say a damn thing about it. And they're trying to take away our rights to do so. That was written in late 1950s. Not all that I just ranted, but the quote. That was written in the late 1950s and translated from the Italian printing in 1968. Now let's look at the 15-minute city. Having written a number of articles about them, the expose describes some of the first cities to be called 15-minute cities, which are in Great Britain. Designed after a system used in the Belgian city of Ghent, the proposal is part of the council's revised draft local plan. This is why I keep saying that if Green Charter Township or if any of your county master plans are being changed, you need to be aware of that going on, and you need to go to those meetings and be aware of the Delphi technique when you do, because they'll try to manipulate you into the 15-minute city idea and make you think it was your own idea. That's the Delphi technique. But you still need to go to these local master planning committee things that happen if you can, because they are telling you the direction of your city, and that gives you the information to potentially stop them. You need to know their plans in order to stop their plans. In the first 5 zones, major roads will be closed. This is back to Great Britain, which I talked about earlier. London is the first experiment, 15-minute city experiment happening in the world that we know of. In the 5 zones, major roads will be closed, forcing drivers to ditch their cars to use the bypass. ANPR cameras will be at the entry and exit points of each zone, so drivers can't move between neighborhoods without being fined. So, you don't care about spending the money? Then you can move between the zones. You have money, you don't care. You're poor, you're screwed. You're locked down in a concentration camp. The amenities and services that you would need are all in your neighborhood. You wouldn't have all that rat running, so it'd be fantastic if we could achieve it. In 20 years' time, we're likely going to have your groceries delivered, or you are planning to go to a different supermarket or a new local shop in your own neighborhood. What is a 15-minute city? According to the Urbanist, a 15-minute city aims to provide everything you need within a short 15-minute walk or bike: jobs, schools, food, parks, community, medical, and more. Building on the principles of the new urbanism and popularized by Parison, Mayer, and Hidalgo, this urban design concept may be a solution to create more sustainable, equitable, and healthier cities, straight out of the ideal communist city. And the US, being one of the top dogs of global elite, isn't about to be left behind. Cities are vying to become the first. To qualify, they must score high in walkability and bikeability. Look into Grand Rapids, baby. They're ranked number 1, or they're in the top 12 for walkability and bikeability. Labor force participation, number of social associations, food environment index, access to exercise opportunity, density of health and safety providers, hospitals. Grand Rapids has the medical mile, serving housing problem index, and housing to income ratio. Here are some of the cities: Miami, San Francisco, Boston, Oakland, Minneapolis, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Long Beach. Is that California, or is that, I'm sure it's not, Mississippi? Buffalo, Seattle, Chicago, and 12 more. The Biden administration has been active in addressing this issue, net zero, both in terms of decarbonizing federal buildings. This means that no more gas connections. It's going to be electricity only. So building codes is another thing that we need to look into, because it's about economic development. Decarbonizing federal buildings and encouraging states and cities to take action. Last year, it signed an executive order directing the federal government to use its powers to achieve net zero emissions throughout the entire building portfolio by 2045, including a 50% emissions reduction by 2032. And this is why they're trying to get around the townships who keep voting no on wind turbines and solar panels. They need to get this emissions down, and they're lying and saying that wind turbines and solar panels get the emissions down. They don't. They just put a layer in between the emissions of fossil fuels and us. That just puts a third man in there, and it creates all kinds of business, but business that doesn't even need to exist. We should create different businesses that are, like, how about turn salt water to fresh water so everybody really legitimately has access to fresh water? Anyway, these actions build on the administration's effort to improve the nation's building energy and climate performance by updating energy codes for federal buildings, building better school infrastructure, spurring ambition among major U.S. companies and health sector leaders through commitments to slash buildings emissions by 50% by 2030, and launching the first ever Building Performance Standards Coalition of more than 35 states and cities. Quick side note on the infrastructure and the school system. I just heard that in Fruitport, Michigan, the school system there was completely rebuilt, like $6 million or more. I can't remember the exact figure, millions of dollars. And it's like a prison. almost. They have a system, it's that you can push a button and everything locks down, all of the doors and everything in case of an active shooter. But again, it's kind of like a prison system. This is how they're building schools. And we're spending millions of dollars. So, back to this. This is not new. The 1960s American Institute of Planners makes no bones about its socialist stance regarding land. Its constitution states AIP's particular sphere of activity shall be the planning of the unified development of urban communities, and these environs and of states, regions, and the nation as expressed through determination of the comprehensive arrangement of land uses and land occupancy and the regulation thereof. The present-day crew of planners drawing no line between public and private property believe that land use control should be vested in government and that public planners should have sole right to control the use of all land. This is why they are doing what they're doing. Again, justification. That they think that the government should have sole right to control the use of all land. So if it's beneficial for Michiganders for you to have a solar panel in your backyard, I don't care what you want. It's for the greater good. You're going to get a damn solar panel in your backyard. You're going to get a wind turbine in your backyard. Shut up. Shut up about it. Stop recalling boards that are pro-wind and putting in anti-wind. You won't be able to do it. It won't matter anymore because we are making it so you have no say, and we will put it in for energy and for the greater good of Michiganders. Backers of these urban, got a couple comments. The collective is the tyranny of the people, yes. And if you have, it's the thing I don't like about democracy. I think all you have to do is completely brainwash, dumb down, re-educate, however you want to say it, 51% of the population. That's the problem with democracy. Like, exactly like you said, the tyranny of the people. And if the people, they think they're doing good, but they're actually doing evil, it's a really slippery slope for sure. The 20-minute city, they must be good sheep, says Blue. I'm assuming you're talking about Ann Arbor, which is where I think I got sick. I got zapped by 5G. Who knows? That's what I went down to Ann Arbor. I never go down that far, but I went down there, and me, my mother-in-law, and my husband all got sick at the exact same time. On the way home, we all were like, I feel weird. Take that as you will. I definitely had no smell and no taste for almost 3 weeks. Whatever the hell that is. Was that a bio weapon that was released? Or is it millimeter waves and the first time that they've hit my body? I don't know. The bottom line is we never isolated the virus, so none of us really know. Backers of these urban hubs are gung-ho. C40 Knowledge Hub wrote a piece on how a pandemic can help us build back green. That in a 15-minute city, everyone is able to meet most, if not all, of their needs within a short walk or bike ride from their home. It is a city composed of lived-in, people-friendly, complete and connected neighborhoods. It means reconnecting people with their local areas and decentralizing city life and services. As cities work towards COVID-19 recovery, the 15-minute city is more relevant than ever as an organizing principle for urban development. It will help cities to revive urban life, safety, and sustainability in the wake of COVID-19, and offers a positive future vision that mayors can share and build with their constituents. More specifically, it will help to reduce unnecessary travel across cities, provide more public space, inject life into local high streets, strengthen a sense of community, promote health and well-being, boost resilience to health and climate shocks, and improve city sustainability and livability. Author Ted Trainer, in Transition to a Sustainable and Just World, spells it out, what climate change is all about. Simply shutting down the economy is not going to get us to our goal, so just like we need innovation for COVID-19, we also need to get rid of emissions from all the different sectors. Okay, he said that already. We should be welcoming more carbon dioxide. It is good for people, animals, plants, and the planet. That's truth. We're carbon-based life forms. Prove to me that carbon bad. Prove carbon bad. I don't think you can. I haven't found it yet. I do a lot of research, a lot. All right, I have one more thing, 25-second video that I want to share with you guys right here. And I'm going to have to change the thumbnail. I did not get to go to Russia. I did not get to go, and it's noon. I have to go, unfortunately. But please check this out.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
Thank you. This is exactly what we all asked for, right? We all asked for a tracker system, a digital ID. That's what we want. There's so many videos out there of these elitist pricks saying these different plans and somehow thinking that it's a great idea. I guess it is a great idea for them. They'll own all the resources, right? I will absolutely get to the 12 other articles that I wanted to share with you, but not today. I hope you guys have a great weekend. It is Hot Boat Weekend on the Hardy Dam Pond. I will not be out there because it will be so incredibly busy. It'll be out of control, but I can see the party happening by Oxbow. I can go over there and look. And so perhaps I will take out my binoculars and see the party over there. I don't know. Hot Boat Weekend. Let me know. Do you guys go to that? Do you think it's fun, or do you stay far away now that cops are there in mass? Blue, check my 2-cycle dirt bike. Right. Dirt bikes. They're banned, okay? Dirt bikes are unsustainable. Thank you guys again. I hope you learned something new about the Sustainable Development Goals, and stay tuned for the Russia, China, United Nations connections that are directly related to the Sustainable Development Goals, of course, because that's the major plan that we're dealing with. So thanks again for hanging out. I will work on getting all those links in the description so you can check it all out for yourself. And again, have a great weekend, guys. Thank you.